would ultimately seal its doom. In 1598, everything changed. Dutch sailors, the first humans to set foot on Mauritius, arrived. To them, this island was a treasure trove, a convenient stopover for fresh water and food. And there, wandering freely, were these big, flightless birds that had never seen a human before. They didn't run, they didn't hide. The sailors, hungry after months at sea, found an incredibly easy source of meat. They called the bird Walgvogel, which translates to disgusting bird, suggesting its meat wasn't exactly gourmet. But when you're starving, you're not picky. The hunting began. Because the dodos were so unafraid, they were ridiculously easy to catch. Sailors could simply walk up and grab them. This was the beginning of the end. But here's a common misconception. Humans didn't hunt the dodo into extinction all by themselves. While hunting certainly played a part, it wasn't the main killer. The real culprits were the uninvited guests the sailors brought with them. I'm talking about rats, pigs, and monkeys. These animals stowed away on the ships, and once they reached the island, they thrived. For the dodo, this was a catastrophe. The pigs tore through the forests, competing for the same food sources. But the rats and monkeys were even more devastating. Remember that single egg the dodo laid on the forest floor? To these new invaders, it was an easy, defenseless meal. The dodo's nests were raided relentlessly. Their reproductive cycle was completely destroyed. The dodo population, unable to raise their young, began to plummet. The dodo was caught in a perfect storm. Its habitat was being destroyed as settlers cleared forests for plantations. Its food sources were being eaten by invasive pigs. Its eggs were being devoured by rats and monkeys. And the adult birds were still being hunted by humans. The dodo, a species that had evolved in perfect harmony with its environment for millennia, simply couldn't adapt to these rapid, overwhelming changes. It was a complete ecological collapse triggered by our arrival. The last confirmed sighting of a dodo was in 1662, just 64 years after humans first arrived. The dodo was gone forever. At the time, no one really noticed. The concept of extinction wasn't even understood. It was just a weird bird that wasn't around anymore. It wasn't until the 19th century, when scientists began studying its fossils, that the world realized what had been lost. The dodo became the first animal that humans widely recognized they had wiped off the planet. So, why does the story of a bird that disappeared over 350 years ago matter so much today? Because the dodo wasn't an anomaly. It was a warning. The dodo's story is a textbook example of what happens when we are unmindful of our impact. We introduce invasive species, we destroy habitats, and we overexploit resources. The very same pressures that drove the dodo to extinction are now threatening thousands of species across the globe. From the orangutan in Borneo losing its forest to palm oil plantations, to the vaquita in the Gulf of California getting caught in fishing nets. The echoes of the dodo's tale are everywhere. The dodo holds up a mirror and forces us to see the consequences of our actions. It's the ultimate symbol of human-caused extinction. But the dodo's legacy isn't just one of doom and gloom. It's also a powerful call to action. The dodo's extinction helped spark the modern conservation movement. It made us realize that extinction is real, it's final, and we are often the cause. This realization has led to the creation of national parks, wildlife reserves, and international laws protecting endangered species. In Mauritius itself, the dodo spirit lives on. Conservation groups there are working tirelessly to protect the island's remaining unique wildlife, like the Mauritius kestrel and the pink pigeon. They learned the hard way what can be lost, and now they are leaders in preventing it from happening again. They are actively removing invasive species and restoring native forests, trying to undo some of the damage that began centuries ago. So, what can we, as individuals, learn from the dodo? We can learn to be more mindful. We can make conscious choices about the products we buy, supporting companies that are committed to sustainability. We can reduce our own footprint by consuming less and recycling more. We can support conservation organizations that are on the ground fighting to protect endangered animals and their habitats. We can educate ourselves and others about the biodiversity crisis. Every time you see a picture of a dodo, don't just see a funny-looking extinct bird. See it as a reminder that our planet's ecosystems are fragile. A reminder that the choices we make, big and small, have a ripple effect. The dodo couldn't adapt to a world changed by humans. The question now is, can we adapt our behavior to save the countless other species teetering on the brink? The dodo's story ended in silence, but its legacy should be a loud, clear call for a better, more sustainable future for all life on Earth. Let's make sure its sacrifice wasn't in vain. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this story as moving and important as I did, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the stories our planet has to tell. Let me know in the comments what the dodo's legacy means to you. See you in the next video. Picture this, a tropical paradise, an island untouched by time, covered in lush forests and surrounded by crystal clear waters. This was Mauritius, an isolated gem in the Indian Ocean, and on this island lived a bird unlike any other, a creature so unique it seemed plucked from a storybook. This was the home of the dodo. Before we dive into their tragic tale, let's get to know this incredible bird a little better. The dodo was a large, flightless bird, a relative of the pigeon and the dove. It stood about 3 feet tall and weighed around 40 pounds. With its stout body, strong, stocky legs, and a prominent hooked beak, it was perfectly adapted to its island life. For millions of years, the dodo roamed Mauritius without a single natural predator. It was the king of its domain, foraging on the forest floor for fallen fruits, nuts, and seeds. Life was good. They had no reason to fly, no reason to fear. This peaceful existence, this perfect evolutionary balance, was about to be shattered in the most dramatic way possible. The year is 1598. Dutch sailors, weary from a long voyage, stumble upon the island of Mauritius. For them, it was a miracle land of fresh water, abundant food, and a place to repair their ships. But for the dodo, this was the beginning of the end. These sailors were the first humans to ever set foot on the island, and they brought with them a world the dodo was completely unprepared for. Now, you might think the sailors hunted the dodo to extinction, and while they did hunt them, that's only a small part of the story. Dodos, having never known predators, were famously fearless. They would waddle right up to the sailors, curious and unafraid. This made them incredibly easy to catch. The sailors nicknamed them Walgevogel, which means disgusting bird, because they found the meat tough and not very tasty. They preferred the island's pigeons and parrots. So, while dodos